Hello and welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Abbie Ritchie, and you can find me here every Tuesday interviewing folks that are involved in age tech innovation. Before I introduce my guest, I want to go ahead and intro the show. Well, I would love to introduce my guest.
Hello, I can't hear you.
Well, I can hear you well. I'm sorry to hear that, Miss Cynthia.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you
Yes,
perfectly.
good.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's just see why I can't hear you.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to say. Cynthia, can you hear me?
I'm going to try one thing. Sorry, Abbie. Let's see. Because it was working just fine before, right?
Yes, it was. Indeed, it was. And if you need to, you can always go out and come back in. Sometimes that happens, and I just want to get it right, and it's okay. Okay.
Okay.
Is that any better? Can you hear me now? Those darn AirPods, sometimes they can be really tricky, huh? Okay, well, I am still here. It's wonderful to see you, Cynthia. Why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and
there you are. Okay, I got you.
Wonderful. Great.
Sorry about that. I think my computer's coming back from vacation too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we were kind of talking about that. Tech issues on a Tech Tuesday. That's right.
I know, it's really ironic.
You know what, though? Here's the thing. If every tech issue could be resolved in the matter of a minute, great, right? Right. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it any day. Happens to everyone. Yes, exactly, Michael. Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Sorry, guys. Hi, I'm so glad to be here. That was a rocky start, but it's great to be joining you and having a chance to talk about how everyone can help residents improve their memory and right?
Yes. Now, I would love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself, introduce Total Brain Health, and just tell us how you got started working with memory.
So thank you. And that's really great. You know, it's been such a long time. I don't often get asked about how I got into this. And, you know, I have to say, like many of us, I think in this field, I got into this because of my grandmothers. I was incredibly close. I was very blessed with wonderful role models and grandmothers who were very active. My maternal grandmother lived to 102, and she played bridge and had, you know, was very active. I have a photo I use in a lot of my presentations. Folks might have seen it, of her swimming in the pool just months before her death. And I think that just, you know, piqued my interest in, when I was a psychology major, in looking at late life development. And then when I went to graduate school, I became interested as a clinical psychologist in dementia, right? And what we could do to help people, and was blessed with mentors who were doing work in wellness in terms of what we could do, not only for those who were living with dementia, but from a preventative point of view, which seems very obvious to many of us now, but we're talking about the early 90s when it really wasn't so obvious. And I went on to develop programs around memory improvement from a wellness perspective, which was pretty unusual at the time, including teaching memory strategies, but also understanding how lifestyle and kind of the daily choices that we make impact memory. And then grew that into an understanding of brain health for everybody, including for those who are living with cognitive challenge. As we know, folks are diagnosed earlier, and there are people who have that opportunity even after diagnosis and deserve the benefit of the science of what we can do to maintain cognition and vitality. And so I joined together with Melissa Engel about 7 years ago now to develop programs out of the work that I had been doing, including the books that I had published and the research that I had done. And that's what we deliver from Total Brain Health. We help everyone fulfill their mission of keeping residents well and vital.
Yeah, that sounds so necessary. And I took down a couple notes as you were talking about preventative measures, about incorporating wellness, and also the various strategies. And I would love to hear more about this. And I know that the viewers would as well. And when it comes to senior living and when it comes to resident engagement programs, let's talk about preventative measures. Let's talk about strategies. Let's talk about wellness, please.
So in like 5 minutes, right? So
you got time. You got time, Bill. You got time.
And I hope we get some questions about this because I'd love to hear, what people are thinking about this. Memory is top of mind for all of your residents. And while you may be thinking about wellness programming, I want to remind you that memory improvement is its own thing. And we can talk about the ways wellness supports memory, but I'd love to hear how folks really address memory specifically. So to answer your question, wellness is something that we do well, right? And I think there's a lot of emphasis, and I love walking into community. I used to do this a lot. I'd walk in, I'd ask for calendars. I do help people do like an audit. And I'd look across the calendar, I'd say, there's so much that you do around wellness and around brain wellness specifically, but you don't call it out and you don't know. And more importantly, your residents don't know that what you're already doing fulfills that proposition. You're giving them the opportunity to be empowered to take better care of their brains. You're just not labeling it with a nice little brain or something. The brain's not very pretty. So you know how people, and you go to a restaurant and it has a little heart on the heart healthy selections. I used to say to people, there should be a little dot or something that you put next to all of your wellness selections that demonstrates to people this is something they're also doing for their brain.
Love it.
So, I think that where we miss the boat is in bringing in state of the science brain wellness. And we have a much more sophisticated customer than we used to, especially as the boomers come in. And I think that giving people crossword puzzles or Sudoku or a busy packet and telling them that's what you're giving them for brain health, leading reminiscing discussions. I mean, these are all wonderful opportunities to engage intellectually, but anyone or a family member who is really looking at what the quality is of the offering and what the science is that backs up that offering, you really need to deliver something that reflects that current science. And the current science is that we need to empower everyone to engage in wellness, right? Across body, mind, spirit, and social to support brain health and in very specific and targeted ways. And from a memory proposition, if we're looking especially at cognitively independent folks, so they may be older, right? I was just looking through the Argentum report that came out in our emails a few minutes ago about what residents look like, but they are still, many of them, they're cognitively independent or they are cognitively independent and very concerned about changes in their memory. And they need tools specifically around memory. And so that's another component of something that you need to address that's very hard, right? You can't really address that unless you have expertise in designing it, right? It's not something that you can, pick up or maybe feel you have a background in.
So
but it's very teachable.
And so let me interrupt you just for a second. So in lieu of the packets, in lieu of crossword puzzles and Sudoku, and in lieu of that, what are you suggesting?
Okay. So we at Total Brain Health deliver expert designed programs that are taught by staff in the facilities. So we train folks to deliver our programs, your staff or you, to deliver our programs, and you get the content to teach. And what you get to teach are different modules around a topic. We call these toolkits. They're different programs, and it might be on the topic of brain wellness. And there's 24 modules that give you interactive workouts to run in your communities to teach folks how to keep their brains healthy.
Okay,
It might be around memory improvement. Yeah.
give me an example of one that's really well received.
So, of course, Abbie, they're all very well received, right? But I love, I'll give some great examples. So one is a program that we have called Total Brain Health Inspire. We came out with it about a year or two ago. It focuses on the social and emotional aspects of well-being that support brain health. And it really also gives folks the opportunity to look in that third stage of life at their own personal growth and how to build resilience and kind of understanding how all of that matters to our cognitive wellness and our overall well-being, because emotional well-being and social well-being is part of brain health. If you look at the research, when we are socially engaged, it reduces our risk for dementia over time. We know that socializing also gives us a great, robust opportunity to work out a lot of our thinking skills.
So are you saying then, because I'm totally tracking with you. Even the dog is tracking with you. I'm tracking with you. But what I really want to hear is like, what does this look like at the community?
Right.
Does this mean that we're writing down our memories and we're sharing them and engaging with one another? What our memories
So
are?
I was going to give you an example of one of the classes from the Inspire program that I really love. So one of the things that we all carry around is our own preconceived notions of what it means to be older.
Yeah.
We have ageist notions that we carry.
Absolutely.
And we bring it, right? And we bring it to us even as we grow older, even though one of the things that we all want to be is older. So we look at ageism in the Inspire program, and there's, as I said, these module workouts. So you bring to your class, and usually our classes are about 15 residents, the opportunity to work together to better understand their own personal biases around ageism in this one particular class. So there's a card deck, and they pair up. So they're working, we configure them differently in terms of how they are asked to work together across the different modules. And they are given a scenario where ageism interferes with something someone is doing, right? So there might be one with a professional photographer who feels that she can't keep up in an event when really she hurt her back hiking, right? So how they see that and how they can reframe the age. That's the name of the activity. So they take that card and they talk and they collaborate together, and then they have to present back to the group how they might reframe that person's understanding of their situation to take the ageism out of it. So that's an example of the level of work for someone in cognitively independent living, where we're giving kind of a very different slant on brain wellness. You might not think about that as a brain wellness issue, but it is, because, you know, the ageist beliefs that we hold keep us back, right? They keep us from trying new things. They keep us from pursuing and feeling empowered to pursue health and well-being. So that's one example.
Is that fun though? Do people want to take those classes? I'm just curious.
That's a great question. Yes. And you know what, one of the things that we hear back, so we just launched across with a new partner. They have about 65 communities. And one of the things that came back was how much the residents are enjoying the classes. And that happens to us all the time, because there's so much discussion and they learn things about each other. The staff in this particular company was struck across the communities by the degree to which people were making these social connections, that even residents who had lived in the community, and we hear this all the time, and they might go to the same activities, they might even sit at the same time in the dining room, but they don't interact, right? They don't have the opportunity to delve into topics that are meaningful them together. Yeah, they have these discussions. I just saw a video from a community where these two women who had lived there for quite a long time. In the beginning, they were taking the brain workout class, which is our brain wellness class. And the first class is always kind of meeting other people, right? Meeting your classmates. It turned out they went to the same high school, and they were years apart, but they had the same teachers. They wore the same uniforms, and they were spilling the tea on, you know, all these scandals and things that had happened in the school. So you just, you make these connections in these programs. And some of them are more traditionally what people would think about as a brain wellness class. So we teach stress reduction, for example. We teach physical activity. So pattern dancing, things like waltzing or line dancing, right? Or making up complex steps and having other people copy them. These are all great ways of working out the brain, and we are able to present how all of this is good for thinking and reducing dementia risk. And it also calls out to the other wellness options, of course, in the community.
I want to ask you, because I understand what you're saying. And then I also see this other component of it and know that the lumosity, the games that people play on their computer and that they check in with every day, that those are also valued by a lot of people. How does it vary and how does it compare with total brain health?
Yeah. And, another way of thinking about that is kind of what is the role of technology in brain wellness? So I think a real stand apart for total brain health is the social engagement. And we deliver something called social based brain training. And I kind of alluded to it before. So in addition to bringing people together to learn something like a memory strategy, how to connect names, right, to make them easier to remember, we also change how people are asked to work together to take advantage of that cognitive training that comes informally from socializing. So when you use a computer-based product like Lumosity, what happens is that people are working on their own on skills. So they're training skills such as their attention or their processing speed, and that's great. But you can also do that robustly in a social setting. It's more realistic and it's more rewarding in other ways. So I would say to you, it's not that we believe that those programs don't have their place, but that what really matters, especially for an older population, is the opportunity to learn and work together. And that you cannot do in that one-to-one technology.
Totally see it. Thank you for making that so clear. I really see that the interaction, the connections, the way that that social aspect really changes the environment for so many people is huge. I want to know from you, where do you anticipate where this is heading?
So, this is Tech Tuesday, right? So, and we are, we have group programs, but we also realize that, for example, especially after the last few years with the blossoming of technology, there's so many ways that we can make our programs easier to access and also really expand what our offerings are using the technology. So one of the things that we've always delivered our content online. So while our delivery is to trainers, so it's to the facilitators, to your wellness or your fitness team, they access our materials online and then teach those materials from what they get, right? And that includes videos or music that they might share directly. What we're moving to is a tablet-based delivery model. So rather than having to print from their computer the different modules, what they will be able to do now is just click tabs and access directly, teach off of the tablet, stream off of the tablet, the music or the videos that are part of the workout. And so make it easier from that perspective. In addition, we've added some videos that we didn't have before to the training, so that residents can see us directly talking about the different science behind the modules. Those can be streamed into residents' rooms as well, so they can learn the science and then come to class.
I want to talk about that for a minute because we had someone, Leanne, thank you for posting this question. This is a good question. What is the research around this? Because, and I've come across this as well, just in my teaching. And so brain training and brain games, it's definitely
right. That's not what we do. And I agree.
Yeah.
So there was many years ago, I was just talking about this recently. One of the companies, which I will not name, was fined by the Federal Trade Commission, by the FTC, for false advertising, for overstating their claims to reducing dementia risk. It's something I've written about, and it's something that we at Total Brain Health agreed with that ruling. There were statements made in the effort to market these products that overstated their benefits to reducing risk for dementia. Those are not products that we deliver. The products that were kind of caught up in that were really these computer-based brain training games that really are skills training, by the way. They're not brain training. They don't train around wellness. Right. So that is, I think, what Leanne is referring to, and thanks for bringing that up. Mm-hmm. When we, I'm an old researcher, and I have always based our work on evidence. So we developed all of the Total Brain Health programs around what the current research shows is most effective, especially for older adults. And then the other thing is we just completed our own research study, which I'm happy to share. If anybody wants to kind of chime in, they want a copy of the write-up, I'm happy to share that. We worked with Axe Retirement Life Communities, or a longstanding partner, and Dr. Ian McDonough of the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa. And we completed, I think we had 549 residents go through the research, and they were randomized to either our brain wellness program, our memory improvement program, a book group where they read one of my books, actually, but it was a peer-led group. So we got to see what it was like when it was professional versus a peer leading the group. And then we had a waitlist control. And those results just came out this past spring. And what Dr. McDonough found was participating in the Total Brain Health programs significantly improved folks' knowledge about what they could do to take care of their brain. So they were empowered with information of what mattered to brain health across wellness. They also were, if they took part in the memory group, and even in the book group, actually, because it included some memory strategies, they significantly, they used memory strategies significantly more than those on the wait list. And they also were much more confident that they could take care of their brains. And then also those who were in the brain wellness group reported that they engaged significantly more in lifestyle habits that we know from the research matters to keeping our brains healthy than those on the wait list. So they slept better, they ate better, they exercised more, etc.
I feel like you answered that question really well. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you. Because I think, in terms of what Leanne asked, are we able to better tell what really makes a difference? And so when you have quantitative results and research that can show you that, yes, after doing this, people are more engaged, they feel more confident, they feel more capable, and they're implementing these strategies on a regular basis, that's huge, because this is kind of I know that it is a science, right? But it's kind of hard to track in a uniform way, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think that part of what we do differently is we are providing folks with what they need, with the tools that they need and the understanding that they need to be empowered to take better care of their brains. And that tracks back to what you're doing in communities, right? So it gives them a rationale for why they should go to the gym, why they should go on that trip or take a class or be social. And, that's very different than trying to track the training that you do on the computer, which, by the way, also hasn't really shown much benefit in terms of what we call the transfer, right? So even though you might improve on those games as you do them, they really haven't shown necessarily a lot of benefit in terms of the transfer to actual everyday skills, or to ADLs or IADLs.
What do those mean?
Sorry. Activities of daily living, or more importantly, for the population, we're talking about instrumental activities of daily living. So managing finances, complex kinds of steps, managing transportation, the things that we need to do to stay independent. And that's what really matters.
And do you also feel like, let's bring this back to Axe, to that to that group. Do you feel like this is a winning strategy for ACTS or for people who are considering moving into an ACTS community?
I think that when you look at the age and the concerns of the people who are moving into community, they are prime for support around brain wellness and memory.
Yeah.
This is what they want. Often, even if they are physically frail, mentally, they want to stay well. They want to maintain what they have. They want to stay as independent as possible. And we know from the data that participating in activities that keep our brain healthy help to support that. And so I think that there's tremendous interest, and I think that it's an amenity that people are seeking and that their families are seeking. And as a younger audience comes in, an audience of baby boomers who are used to being proactive around wellness, these are the kinds of opportunities that they're going to expect in communities.
I love it. I love it. I'm totally interested and would love to know more and would love to see more of your toolkits, should one happen to show up here. Sometimes.
So, and the other thing that we have is as I had mentioned to you, we're moving into programs now that are self-paced for
Yes.
residents. So even if you're offering a group program, maybe you're offering one on brain wellness or offering something that is more for cognitively independent residents, we have self-paced products now that folks can do on their own, including one that is a video-based program that they can sign up. They can access it on their iPad. They get a companion workbook to do. And so, that is delivered to them virtually, all those videos. And we actually are running a summer special, as I was reminded today, of a 45% off discount just for the summer on that program because we just released it.
Yeah, feel free to go ahead and put that information in the chat or to post that here. I'm interested in that. I've got one person in my family who could really use this. No, I'm not going to name any names, but someone of concern that could really use it. And with just a couple of minutes left, I always like to ask this question because as an entrepreneur and as a person who tries a lot of things, I always like to know what's something. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just trying to get into the chat. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I'm always curious, really, what's something that you piloted that you thought was going to be just a raging success that just fell flat on its face, that you're still wondering about? Could you share that with us? I think it's good to know. Yeah, go for it.
So, I think one of the things that our partners would tell you about us is we really listen to feedback that you give us. So we're constantly innovating and changing. So before Melissa, who's my business partner, joined me, I had launched the Brain Workout Program, and it was, I think, 60 modules. And people were overwhelmed, and it was like a lot of content. And so now I think it's 24 modules, and we also changed how things are written up because being a researcher by training, I'm like explaining everything, right? So I would have paragraphs explaining the science, and it just didn't translate. It didn't translate, even though I taught my program. So I've taught everything that I write up and deliver, right? I'm not one of those people who feels like, you need to be an ivory tower and you're disseminating these ideas, but you're never actually boots on the ground, kind of in front of people having to teach what you're telling people to teach. Yeah. I had done that, but I'm from New York. I talk really fast. Like it might be, I could get through 5 paragraphs of content in 5 minutes and someone else might not. And also I think that there was some of it, we really had to understand from folks who's teaching the programs, what their voice sounds like. So yeah, that one fell flat, but the lessons learned were great. And I think that we're constantly looking to make our products better based on the feedback that we get from everybody, from all of you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I really feel enlightened. I know that our viewers learned a lot today. And when someone has questions, is there a certain place that's best to reach out to you?
Yeah. So if anyone's watching via LinkedIn and Facebook, I welcome you to find us at Total Brain Health on either of those platforms. Our email is info@totalbrainhealth.com. And we welcome your questions. We know everyone's looking at budgets right now as well. So we welcome the opportunity to hear what you're doing, because everybody's doing something around cognitive wellness, even if they don't have a clear program, right? So it's not our goal to come in and kind of like plop down our programs on top of everything else that you're doing, but really help you understand what you're doing already that we see as cognitive wellness, and how our programs can help kind of lift that to a more clear formal mission around brain health and really support the work that you're doing. So if anybody wants to reach out to us, we'd love to talk to you at info@totalbrainhealth.com.
Wonderful. I went ahead and I put that in the chat
Thank you.
down below. You're welcome. And Cynthia, thanks so much for being a guest today and for enlightening us and sharing all that you're doing. I know it's having an impact on residents' life, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Abbie. I'm glad we got through those Tech Tuesday technical difficulties at the beginning, and thanks for having me on. The mission is to help all minds thrive. So we appreciate the opportunity to share what we do.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And for those of you joining us, we're going to go ahead and repost this broadcast, and we'll see you back here next week. Sometime it will end. Yeah, there we go.